I'm Jeff Mucklin from the Nurture Nature Center, and this is part of our ongoing series of science activities that you can do at home. Even if you can't come to the Nurture Nature Center, we're coming to you over the internet. And today we're going to be looking at an activity that you can do at home that involves learning about magnets, learning about some of their properties, and towards the end we'll actually learn how to make our very own electromagnet. So when we want to learn about magnetism, first it's a good idea to think about what the different kinds of magnets exist. The main type of magnet that we're all probably familiar with are permanent magnets. I have here a neodymium magnet, actually a couple neodymium magnets all connected together. And when I bring these neodymium magnets near each other, I can feel a force. They're attracting one another. Oh, and they just snap together. I couldn't stop it, actually. It's a very powerful force. It's a lot of fun to play with, right? We're all familiar with using this, and I don't think it really never gets old. But if I take these magnets and I reverse one of them, and I bring them near each other now, you might be able to guess what I'm feeling. They're now repelling. I can't make them come near each other. I'm pushing pretty hard, and they just seem to go around each other. I can't get them to connect. Well, that's because permanent magnets have a north and south pole, just like the Earth has a north and south magnetic pole. These permanent magnets have a north and south magnetic pole as well. And the north magnetic pole of one magnet attracts to the south pole of an adjacent magnet, and they come together. But if I turn one of them around, then I have the north pole of one magnet facing the north pole of another magnet, and rather than attracting, they repel. They repel one another. I have here another example of a magnet. This is another permanent magnet, but this one, it's a little rusty, but it has some iron on it. And this iron, which is surrounding a black ceramic magnet, helps to focus the magnetic field. It makes it stronger in one particular direction. And in this direction, the magnet is stronger. The iron core, this piece of iron around the magnet, just helps to make the magnetic field stronger in one particular direction. And that can be very useful. So those are permanent magnets, but there are other kinds of magnets, magnets that are not always magnets. These are called electromagnets, and these are only magnetic when electricity is flowing through them. So here we have an electromagnet. This is a voltmeter. It records electricity. And if I turn it around and look at the bottom of it, we can see that it has a large coil of copper wire. Okay? And I have a permanent magnet near that copper coil. I'm going to put it right here so the copper coil is all around it. Now, when we pass electricity through this copper coil, it becomes a magnet, but only when the electricity is flowing through it. I have a 9-volt battery here, and if we connect our 9-volt battery to our voltmeter, that needle moves. As soon as I disconnect the electricity, it's no longer a magnet. And if we reverse the electricity, then the needle goes in the opposite direction. So we're changing the pole that our copper electromagnet, which direction the field is facing. I'll do it one more time. See, only when the electricity is flowing through the wire does it become a magnet. So that's a wonderful example of an electromagnet. It's not a particularly powerful electromagnet, but it's very useful. We can use electromagnets like this we've now just discovered to sense how much electricity is flowing through a wire. If I had a weaker battery here, that needle wouldn't have moved quite so much. I have an even more powerful electromagnet over here, though. So down there, you can see a 40-pound dumbbell. And over here, I have a very large, very powerful electromagnet. And it's got the same power source, a 9-volt battery. You can see the 9-volt battery right here. Okay, let's see what this 9-volt battery can do with a very large electromagnet like this. I'm going to put the electromagnet right here. It's now connected to the 40-pound dumbbell, and I'm going to connect my alligator clip, and electricity will begin to flow through the wire, and it will become an electromagnet. The electricity is now flowing, and let's see if we can lift a 40-pound dumbbell with nothing but the power of electromagnetism. I'm going to disconnect the electricity and watch what happens. It falls. Once the electricity stops flowing, we no longer have any magnetic force. And so the 40-pound weight falls to the ground. So let's look at how we can make our own electromagnet. I've already started one right here. I have a curved piece of iron. You want to use a piece of iron. You need a ferrous metal like iron or nickel. Those would work, but iron's probably much more easy to come by. And what I've done is I've begun to wrap some wire around this piece of iron. I don't know if you can see the iron, the wire. I think you can. I've wrapped it. It looks kind of like a candy cane, doesn't it? You can see a nice spiral of wire going around this piece of iron. You don't want to overlap your winding. You just want to make nice, neat loops of wire around your iron core. And I was a little lazy. I haven't put that many turns on here. I've only wrapped maybe 60 turns of wire on here. The more turns you put on, the more powerful your electromagnet will be. And I'm just going to finish it up here. And I'm going to put a piece of tape on the end of my magnet so that the wire doesn't come undone. It will just come off the core if we don't put something down to stop that. So I've got a piece of tape around it. And I now have a completed electromagnet. And and let's put on a bolt on the end. There we go. So that's our electromagnet. Let's see how powerful it is. I have some safety pins right here, and I have our 9-volt battery that we were using before. And if I bring the electromagnet near these safety pins, it's not doing anything. It's not lifting them up at all. But that's because we don't have electricity flowing through our electromagnet yet. Let's connect our battery. And a 9-volt battery is more than powerful enough for this job. You don't need anything larger than that. We're going to connect our battery. And we now have electricity. Let's see what happens if I bring the magnet near the safety pins now. Oh, look at that. It lifts them up. We've turned this piece of iron into a magnet. And I'm going to disconnect the electricity, and they fall. So there you have it. We have made our own electromagnet at home. Remember, the key is to use a piece of iron to begin with, and to wrap as many turns of copper wire around that piece of iron as you can manage, and then to connect the two ends of those wire to a battery, and then you will have an electromagnet. So thank you for joining us today. By the way, if you want to do this at home, you can get the materials at most hardware stores, but I found that Harbor Freight has alligator clips. You can buy a large pack of alligator clips like this, which will be useful not just for this project, but for any project that involves electricity. And you can get magnet wire, which is the kind of wire we used. You can use wire with rubber insulation around it, but magnet wire like this has a very thin coating of enamel for insulation, and that allows you to squeeze more turns closer together on your electromagnets. You want magnet wire like this, and you can also get that at most hardware stores, including at Harbor Freight. And you want the thinnest diameter of wire you can get, by the way. Again, the thinner the wire, the more turns you can fit onto your electromagnet. So I have a very thin, this is really not much thicker than hair. So if you do that and just use any iron bolt, you can make your own electromagnet. Thank you.